So I've really stepped up the guest game actually in the last couple of episodes. We had Gareth Thomas on last week, Club Beldroy, the real manager. And this week I'm joined by Wales Rugby Sevens International, a man with over 150 appearances for RGC 1404 as well, Mr. Afon Bagshaw. Thank you for joining me today, Afon.
No, thanks for having me. Pleasure.
No problem at all, mate. I have to say, Afon was a member of the RGC side who became the first North Wales team to win the WRU National Cup. That was in 2017. Me and my friends were down for Judgment Day that weekend, actually, and we found that tickets were still widely available. So, of course, we're going to go see the Gogs down there, and just a fantastic weekend of rugby overall. And what did it feel like to be the first side from North Wales to get to lift the trophy?
I mean, it's hard to put into words, really. It's something that only, I think anybody in North Wales could ever have dreamt of, really. Being able to just to play at the stadium alone is a great honour and a great experience. And to be fortunate enough to come away with a win on that day, it was fantastic for us as a group of players and the coaching staff, as well as North Wales as a whole.
Oh, it was brilliant. And you got to share the field with Shane Williams as well. I never thought I'd get to see little Shane score a try at the Millennium, so that was a big deal for us as well.
No, yeah, it was good. It was a great day. Like you say, we didn't see much of the games beforehand, but obviously watching it back on telly, it was a great advent for club community rugby.
Oh, definitely. It seemed like, I don't know if it's because where we were sat, we managed to funnel ourselves where all the Gogs fans were, but it did seem like a good chunk of the crowd in there had come down from North Wales. So that's always really good to see.
Yeah, I think every man and his dog and the whole family had come down to watch us on that day. It was, like I said, it was a great occasion for everyone involved and the whole of North Wales.
Oh yeah, and they say we're all football up north, don't they?
Yeah, and it's changing its ways. I think slowly but surely. I think we are putting rugby on the map. But I think without this lockdown, maybe things would have moved a little bit quicker than they probably will post lockdown.
Yeah, it's been really tough. But considering how far RGC are coming, I think it was 2008 they formed.
Oh goodness me! Now you're asking me.
I'm racking your brains now, aren't I?
Yeah. Do you know what? I can't remember the year. I think it was 2012. Was the first year I got a contract. So that was like the first team to be a club in one of the leagues. So yeah, I think it was 2012, maybe 2013, 14.
All right. Was it the academy at Llandrillo College you came through playing for RGC? Or?
Yeah, I started off playing for Flint, and then I was fortunate enough to be selected for Flintshire schools and North East schools, and then went on to be one of the first North Wales teams to play against the South Walian teams, really. So, and then luckily just stuck with it. Got offered an RGC academy contract. I think that was in 2010, and obviously 2 years at 18s, and then was fortunate enough to be kept on for the senior squad then.
Oh yeah, you've done really well since you've broken into the senior side as well, of course, being called up to sevens as well. I'm just wondering, the academy side, is it Rose College they train at on Rose-on-Sea campus?
Yeah, the academy, there's two separate kind of academies, really. You've got your RGC academy, and then you've got your college academy.
Oh, right, yeah.
College academy sit just underneath the RGC academy. There was Rydal Penrose private school. They were linked in with it as well. So they had kind of a choice of two, really, of where you wanted to go when you're involved with the RGC setup. If you wanted to continue and be part of the academies, then it was either Rydal, Rose-on-Sea College Llandrillo, or you do your high school in wherever you choose, and you just drop into the sessions, whereas fortunately for myself with College Llandrillo, it was kind of all in on one location. Yeah. So you'd have the studies in the morning, which is great, and obviously the rugby in the afternoon. So obviously if we didn't pull our weight in the morning, we wouldn't be training in the afternoon. So it was a good balance. I'm very grateful for all the work that they'd give me really and put into me, it has helped me massively. I don't think I'd have got as far as I have done without the help and support from them.
Oh, of course, I'd say degree of skill comes into it. I'll be honest with you, I was an absolute awful rugby player. I was a bit chunkier back in my day, and sort of front row forwards were in short supply. So it was always, oh, Pearson, come here, you can, you're a big lad, you can go and play. It's like, oh no, more of a cricketer, so wicket keeper, big lad behind the stumps, just like stopping the ball like a goalkeeper more than anything. But, no, we used to quite enjoy playing Rydal actually. Only I think mainly because nicest changing room. I mean, being a private school, obviously you're gonna have the nicest facilities, but we used to either just getting changed on the bus or our tiny little PE changing rooms, then walking across the cut to the dog walking field and trying to dodge all the dog muck by the H post. So fun memories though. North Wales rugby, gotta love it.
Yeah, gotta love it.
Okay. I was going to say there's the Olympics. Well, fingers crossed they're going to go ahead. I think everything's pushing in the right direction for it.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is for the game of rugby to have a version of rugby in the Olympics? I think it was Rio they introduced rugby sevens.
Yeah, I think it's massive. I mean, the seven sport alone is totally different to the 15-a-side game. It's becoming more and more like a specialist sport. So for that to be involved in the Olympics is a massive, massive thing for rugby all over the world. So having that set up now in there is fantastic.
Yes, brilliant. I was going to say things like I think the World Cup in Japan's really helped with the growth of the game in Asia. I know it was steadily growing over there already.
Yeah.
They've been a sleeping giant for a few years and beating world champions in World Cups before and knocked them out. You know, it's no mean feat. I think we saw that with Argentina a few years ago. I think they're because they're playing in one of the they expanded the Tri-Nations thing with South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia, so they're fairly competitive in that now as well, which is good to see.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's great. Like I say, it pushes sport and rugby all around the world, which is great.
Yeah, I remember seeing I think it was probably the first few times I heard about rugby sevens. I remember seeing the United States had some really top players at it, but I think it was an interview with one of their coaches I read. They'd had a few occasions. It was a bit like the Cool Runnings story, you know, they converted sprinters into bobsledders and they were turning, I think it was a fullback, they were just getting an Olympic sprinter or a 200-meter, you know, because they run the arc, just sort of feeding it back to them out the ruck and running an arc around everyone. It's sort of like playing school rugby when you've got the one really quick lad who just runs around everyone.
Get the ball to him and let him run. Yeah. No, it's like I think Perry Baker and Carlin Isles, they both originated from that kind of background, obviously, over there. Every boy's dream was to play in the NFL, you know, and fortunately enough, obviously, for the rugby game, you get the boys who don't quite make the cut, and then they look for another sort of island. And if rugby can do that, then again, it's only going to benefit the performance and the crowds as well. They're going to enjoy seeing extremely fast players running around people.
Definitely, especially if that's the version of the game in the Olympics as well, because the halves are shorter and everything. So if you got fast-paced games, going to grab more people's attention. Maybe the more peripheral fans as well, and that's the audience you're going to want to try and bring in. And they'll go forward and maybe tune into a World Cup or go and see a local team.
Yeah, and hopefully that like leading into that and getting them playing, because obviously the more people you can get playing, it's only going to benefit the club. It's good. It's a great sport to be involved in.
Definitely, especially the way it's growing globally at the minute. I think it was about a year or two ago, all those targeted Facebook ads, because we were just finishing uni, so it was all like postgraduate things trying to entice you in to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the team in China, but it was like a university team, and the deal was they'd pay you a salary to go over there, teach whatever your like specialist area was in your degree. But I think it was an English-speaking university, so they were trying to attract people over. But one of one of like the sort of strings on the contract was you had to play for one of their rugby teams. Then they had a professional team, and then like a sort of university level team, and then sort of more recreational teams down below.
Yeah.
But like just seeing things like that pop up, it's like, wow, really? They're trying to attract rugby players over to China. It must be growing.
It's good things to see. It's forever developing. And it's like, again, it is a great sport to be involved in.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's fond memories of playing as well at every level, I'd say.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've read in interviews before, you're still setting your sights on that full international call-up, which, top player, mate. See you in the Wales team at some point.
Yeah, like I said,
Always,
yeah, it's always been one of my dreams, and I've always said. I remember sitting in college on like one of my first days, and the tutor Rodri Davis said, "Look, lads, I want you to write down where you see yourself in sort of 3 months' time, 5 months, 3 years, 5 years." And I said, within 5 years, I want to have made a cap for Wales. Unfortunately enough, obviously, within that 5 years, I got my Wales 20s cap, and obviously sat down with him since then and spoke to him, and he said, "Look, when you said that, I kind of like laughed and thought this skinny lad from Flint, has got no chance." But for me, that was like a kind of compliment, like for me to be able to prove him, not necessarily prove him wrong, but just say, look, like to everybody who's kind of all the doubters, that if you put your hard work into it, you can achieve whatever you want.
exactly. It's more of a testament to your mindset, your ability, and it does prove to people that you set yourself a target, you work as hard as you can to achieve it as possible.
Yeah, definitely, certainly.
I was going to say the sevens has been a pretty good pathway for there's a fair few players in the current squad actually that have made it in through, or they've played at sevens at some point. I think.
Yeah. I mean,
Tipperick, Shingler. I think
yeah,
there's like Luke Morgan, Reece Webb came through.
yeah. Thomas Williams as well has come off.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's still a good route through for maybe players who aren't as prominent at the regional sides, more fringe players or players from the Premiership to.
Yeah, when I was involved, it was kind of you had your core players. So I think there was 4 of us who solely played sevens, and then you kind of had your sort of younger, like you say, fringe players who weren't quite getting the game time that they needed, involved, and they got invited in, and then we do like a 2-week camp before leading into obviously going away, having a week out there, and then tournament weekend. So again, like you say, it's a great stepping stone to get onto that international 15-a-side stage, and it is sad to kind of see that they've combined the England, Scotland, and Wales together. It's a shame, really, because there'll be a lot of players that, like you say, are on the fringe and not quite getting game time, that'll go missing, and that's the worry, is the fact that the player pool will kind of disintegrate, and they'll lose interest. Obviously, to develop the best way, and for me, again, having my coaching head on, the best way to develop is by playing, learning from your mistakes, and then obviously putting them right the next time you get the opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of fitness as well, but in terms of experience, match play, boxer, football, or any sport really, you improve mostly from the time you spent in the ring or on the field.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I couldn't agree more with you there. It's different. You can train as hard, like you can train as hard to be as good runner, long distance runner, and then, long distance running, and then trying to put that on in place on a rugby field. It's a total different kind of conditioning, really. So
yeah, found that out the hard way myself.
Yeah, and it is a tough sport. It is kind of, there's no kind of hiding places, especially in the sevens. There's only 7 of you on that massive field, so there is no place for error or hiding.
Definitely. It's interesting what you said about them taking the idea to combine the sevens team and running with it. I was going to bring that up myself, but I didn't know how you felt about it, so I didn't want to bring anything up so you get you in trouble or anything like that. But
No.
I agree with you, really, I have to say, because like we were saying before, you have sort of maybe you start in 7 players from each team who are more than likely going to start in big games, stuff like that. You're going to select the better players from each team to go and train with GB. It's going to be like an invitational side, isn't it? I understand in the aspect, I think it was going to cost, was it 2 million to get the players and the staff to Tokyo? So they're trying to raise funding they were trying to crowdfund individually, and then I think they decided they could. I think they got the national lottery funding from like combining the three teams, and then they gave them the. I understand it in that aspect, but I do think with the Olympics coming around every 4 years, it's just imagine being a young player sort of breaking in on the periphery of the sevens, and then sort of you throw in this curveball, not being able to train or play for a year. Really, it's going to be so disheartening. And like you said, it could disenfranchise people from coming back.
Yeah,
When things resume, and we don't want that at all. We need to retain these great players we got coming through the pipeline.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, don't get me wrong, it's great to see them combined in the squads to benefit sort of the Olympic.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? So it's kind of like the Olympic game, the GB team. It's going to benefit the GB team. But then when you strip it back and you look kind of the bigger picture, then it is quite like it is quite gutting to see the likes of some players just kind of being tossed aside and said, look, there's no longer a contract here in Wales, and then the GB team, that the coach that they've got there may not be looking for they're looking for their certain things that they want, attributes that they want in their team, you know. So and it is tough, and I wouldn't want to be on the side of a call that says, oh look, sorry, unfortunately I haven't made the cut, you know, and it can be just soul destroying. But for me, the best kind of players will bounce back from that, and like I say, prove people wrong.
Yeah, sometimes with setbacks like that, you've just got to use it as fuel to drive you on. And, you know, it's like, oh, I've felt bad. I've felt in this position before. I've got to do everything in my power not to feel like that again.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, a boxer after taking a tough knockout, losing a World Cup final, something like that. It does drive a lot of people to come back stronger.
Yeah, certainly. Like, you'll always get knockbacks. You always will. No matter what sport you're in, no matter what job you're in, you'll get knockbacks, but it's how you bounce back from them. I know it's a bit cliche, but it is true. You can be knocked down or knocked back in anything, and you've just got to pick yourself up. You can sulk about it, dwell on it for however long you want, but at the end of the day, that's the situation you're in, so you've just kind of got to get on with it.
Yeah, definitely. You touched on sort of the differences between training and different sports before. What's sort of like the average training session, sort of rugby based for you? Is it balance between cardio and, well, should we say a gym session to give example? Could be a training session, could be anything really, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Is it more cardio and a bit of weights and maybe some resistance training?
Yeah,
plyometrics, balance of everything. Sorry, I'll let you talk instead of just throwing ideas out there.
With the sevens, it was kind of, you had these set days. So you'd come in Monday, you'd weigh in, then depending on which kind of week, so every other week it'll alternate. First you'll have, say, like your forwards in the gym and your backs on the indoor training pitch, and then you'd swap over, so you'd have an hour skill session, like units kind of thing, and then you'd swap back over. Then you'd go onto the main field then, and you'd look at your kind of your long distance, so getting miles into the legs, so your tempo runs, your shuttle runs, kind of things like that, to get the miles in your legs, so your legs are able to cope with the amount of running. And then obviously you'd bounce back between the tempos and the like team training. So yeah, like contact area, working on different kind of aspects of the game. Then on a Tuesday, similar kind of setup, just the content of the session had changed. So we'd probably do, we'd go straight out onto the field on a Tuesday. We'd get like a high speed running in, so 10, 20, 30, 40 meter sprints. So that repeated sprint ability. Then we'd probably go into like a 7v7 game. Obviously, as you got closer to the tournament or to leaving for the tournament, the contact level side of things would taper off. So when it was a first week in camp, you'd be flat out smashing and bashing each other. Then the week before you go, obviously, it's just like two-handed touch and down and place and play it away, you know. So you get kind of, with the sevens, it's a well-rounded circle. You've got to have, like you say, the legs to be able to to keep running, and also the repeated sprint stuff. But then again, you need the physical side of it as well to cope with like them short, quick fire tackles, breakdown, jackal, back on your feet in the line again. You know, so there's a big emphasis on kind of what we call big, so back in game. So if you're off the floor, you're back on your feet and you're proactive. You're not kind of lying, taking your time, getting up, thinking, "Oh God, I'm blowing." You just got to get up as quick as you can and get on to the next job, you know.
I guess you can't afford to sort of take time out in 70. It's not like a full 15 game where you can have someone taking your place in the line, you man down. So interesting what you said about having to sort of have a good balance between the two. Sort of like you need to be able to be bulky to take the tackles, but you don't want to have too much size on. I think a few footballers have been criticised by the managers for getting really bulky over the summer and then not being able to, a couple of fullbacks not being able to make runs down the line and that. And you'd be using, is it your lactic acid energy system a lot because you're sort of mid-level to intense sprint. So you're going to have to work on that constantly and not be cramping. And I mean, you have to use anaerobic and aerobic as well for the sprints. So
it's a tough balance. And then that leads into then your diet. So you getting your sugar levels in as well once in between the games, especially you only have short turnaround of an hour and a half between the games, so you got to make sure you're eating the right things. And then obviously if there's a bit of a longer period between the games, you get your carbs in then.
I was going to say, since you've started playing, has there been quite a big jump in the differences in sort of focus on training and nutrition, sort of gym work and stuff like that? Because I mean, you haven't been playing for that long, to be fair. Have you? Well, you've been playing since you were young, but you're not that old, I should say. But I mean, since like, I guess, the 90s when the professional era began and they were still knocking a few pints back the night before and then going and playing in Paris with a bit of a hangover. It's completely... I mean, most sports were like that back in the day and they're not now. But have you noticed much of a jump in all of that since you've been playing?
Yeah, I think there's more emphasis on kind of your gym and you being physically in a good shape. I do see that. And for me, kind of going through it from the beginning where it was kind of not as strict, then coming through it and then seeing it how it is nowadays, I think there tends to be like a more of kind of what do they look like? Are they in good shape? Are they physically well? I mean, you could be in the best shape of your life, looking good, packs a lot, and then technically and the skill side of thing, you can be terrible. So again, it's about that balance for me, and like having a good look, physically being good, not obviously looking good, but being able to carry your weight that you're at, and then being able to perform sort of in the last 80 minutes, and beyond, to be able to perform that executed skill. That's what it comes down to for me. So it's about having a good balance. And like I say, it has swung towards more kind of gym aspect and what they look like physically and running wise, but for me it's getting a good balance. But I'd rather have somebody on the field that can perform for say 60 minutes, high quality, skill, technically, tactically well, and then like I say, you've got your subs then who hopefully is equally as good and can come off and do the last 20, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the modern game as well, you see in props, for example, they only really play 60 minutes nowadays. And, well, all front rowers really. You always 10s, scrum halves. You sort of have your set positions that you'll change with about 60 minutes gone. But I think it's probably part to do with the intensity of the game nowadays, do you reckon? Because it does seem it's played at a lot more of a high pace.
Yeah, certainly that. Like you say, you can have players in your team that are trained specifically for that 60 minutes, and then like I think it's Eddie Jones who started it or said it first, is like your finishers, they come on, there's no kind of starters, and you have your starting team and then you have your finishing team, which is vitally important really, especially in, like you say, the more professional and the bigger games. You know, it is needed to have you kind of finishers to come on and like you say, finish the job off. So sometimes you'll see with the coach's selection, it'll have a good, really strong bench, who will not or probably or can be in some cases like the best players on the bench, and they can often when everyone's tired and sort of give that boost to the whole team and hopefully try and get one over on the opposition.
Definitely. So Wales had some success doing that when we had the Anscombe and Dan Bigger quandary who to start. I was a bit biased, to be honest with you. I don't really follow any of the regions, but more of a Blues fan than anyone. So I was saying for a while, like, can you not just give Anscombe a game? He's been doing so well for years. Just And he was doing really well. And then, like you said, with the finishing players coming on, Bigger was coming off the bench to shore the game up. And I think his kicking was a bit more defensive and a bit more tactical than Anscombe sort of box kicking, doing up and unders, sort of chasing bombs down. But it's good to see how the game's developed, sort of using the bench more tactically instead of just replacement players for when, no, he's a bit worn out, let's chuck him on. Go on.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes to what type of team you're playing against as well. Like, obviously you do your analysis before the game and after as well, but when you're the week leading up to a game, you do look at the opposition and see what kind of areas that are vulnerable and whether their fitness levels of when other teams have scored most tries against them and when's the key point. So that, again, for the coaches more so, that they'll think about who they want on the bench, who they want to come on at a certain time, if they want a really good start. And then obviously their fitness levels will taper off, and then you bring the younger lads on with full of energy, will boost everyone's morale and the get-go, so.
Yes, like what you said before as well, knowing what a team, sort of if there's a certain part of the game where they seem to come into it a bit more, if they've got a sort of system they roll with where they might bring a few better, like bring a specialist 10 on a bit later that can do certain things, try and open the game up a bit more, so you can sort of try and work out how you can counteract things like that, I guess, as well, can't you? So,
definitely,
and all games are televised practically nowadays, so I guess there wasn't as much tape footage and analysis from the pundits and that as there is nowadays. So I guess that's why there's all these jobs for performance analysts and sports nutritionists of degrees and that for them nowadays. I've had a few friends who went down to Cardiff, Matt, to study sports coaching, exercise and fitness, and some of them doing quite well off it, actually, to be fair. It's a good career path, I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I alluded to earlier on in the chat, it's such a great sport, not just for players, but for coaches as well. If you have somebody who isn't necessarily, or played when they were younger, had a big injury and want to still be involved, it's a great avenue for them to go down, or whether it's just somebody that you've got a real interest in it and never had a chance to play, so it's great for coaches as well as players.
Or people like me who never really had the skill to quite get there. So, it's a way to be a part of the setup, isn't it? And you're part of it, you're on the team bus, you're helping out with with all the players.
Yeah, definitely.
So you yourself, you play as a fullback. You can play on the wing as well, though. Will we see you moving into the centre like George North at any point, do you reckon? Or
who knows?
Sorry, that's a bit of a...
I'd like. Do you know what? I'd honestly like to play in the forwards, in the back row. I don't think I'd be an 8, but maybe like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, when I slimmed down a bit, they stuck me as a 6. I don't think I was quite quick enough to be an open sider and the scrum half or anything. Probably run into his kneecap or something, knowing me. But yes, I saw as I slimmed down a bit, I got moved further back, and then I started playing in uni, and I think I dropped about 3 or 4 stone by the time I got to Leeds, and there was I didn't end up playing for the university because it was quite expensive to register for like the sports, whatever you call it, and then you had to join the unions and all that. It was just a pain in the ass. So I played for a local club. A guy came scouting around one of the dining halls, like, "Oh, you lads, you Wales shirt? Yeah. How'd you play?" I was like, "I used to. I was very good." Like, "Oh, we're after players. I could play for the old mods." Like, "Oh yeah, sure." One game they stuck me on the wing, and honestly, I've never been so out of my depth on the field at any point. I remember trying a little dink over the top of that fullback, and he was a pretty big. I'm not sure if he was Samoan, Tongan, Fijian, but it was sort of Polynesian area. big chap, but 6 foot tall, 6 foot wide. Just remember, because playing in Yorkshire as well, so they play a lot of rugby league, can tackle a little bit higher. Just remember running into an arm and sort of a cartoon waking up seeing stars and like, ooh, it's going to be an interesting drive home from Otley. It was all good. It was all good.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, like by trade is probably a fullback, but I just as long as I'm playing, I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't care. I just love the sport. It's something that's been a massive part of my life from the age of 5. I think at first. So it's been. I just like playing. I don't care where I play, as long as I've got it on and boots on them on the field. You know, with my mates.
That's all it is, mate. Give me the ball. I'll do a job for you. Just get me on the field. So, mate.
Yeah.
So we've had an age-old debate in our the rugby sector of our friendship group, I should say. A lot of football fans. I always said if I ever had a chat to a half-decent fullback, and I've got a pretty good one in front of me now, I'd pose the question to you. So, hypothetical situation: you're Wales coach going into the England game or going into any game really. We're trying to pick a fullback. Lee Halfpenny or Liam Williams, who's your starting fullback? Because we just argue the toss about this constantly and we can't come up with an answer. So
I think that's the mystery question of who is your pick. I don't think anyone can give you the correct answer. They're both quality players and they both have great attributes, and probably both in different areas. If you can combine them both, they'd be the world's best fullback ever.
Definitely.
Probably come up in one of your conversations as well. So, I mean, it is a tough choice, and I'm glad I'm not making it. But for me, I kind of relate more to Liam Williams rather than Lee Halfpenny. But again, Lee Halfpenny's form's been questioned over the last couple of years, but he is starting to perform well and getting back to how he was sort of Lions, Australia, you know, that kind of year. So I think slowly but surely he's coming back to his best, you know. And so again, I think they're getting a good balance at the moment. So it was last weekend, it was Liam on the wing and Lee Halfpenny at fullback, you know. So I know he come off with a blow to the head, Lee Halfpenny. So again, that might make the choice a little bit easier for Wayne Pimmack.
Hopefully not. I was going to say, I think we need as many players available as we can against it. I'm just always a bit nervous going into the England game. My girlfriend's English, so I can't stand losing to him. Always get a bit of that in the ear. So she should bloody watch rugby, I have to say. So we should always chime in up. Bless her. But how do you feel we've been performing after 2 games? Because I think we're all quite happy to have 2 wins from 2, but you know, I mean, you can berate the performance as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you can only play what's in front of you. And the important thing is getting the win, considering the past 12 months we've had. I think it's been a bit tough for Pivak, so good to see things moving in the right direction.
Yeah, moving in the right direction. Yeah, I think it's tough for any coach with any team to come in and sort of take over, especially after sort of what Warren did for us for such a long time, and to replace him, it was going to be, they are big boots to fill. So I think there may have been a little bit of pressure on him from that side of things within his first year. So hopefully that's kind of been ironed out now. And like you say, you take 2 wins out of 2 in the Six Nations to kick us off to obviously a good start. In terms of the performances, maybe questioned. I don't know whether it's hard to say whether if Ireland or Scotland would have had 15 men on the field, whether the result would have been different. I certainly do think they have been quite fortunate, more so in the Scottish game, because Scotland, again, with a great win over England, were on good form going into the game, and it was a great game to watch, you know. So again, like you say, take 2 wins out of 2, going into England, coming off the back of beating Italy. Questionable whether it was an easy game. So yeah, it should be an interesting one. Certainly.
Good time to play him, I reckon. I think, especially with us hopefully finding a bit of form, few players. I think we had 2 or 3 out with HIAs because I think it was only 6 days in between, so it's not really much time to recover for him, is it? So,
No.
But yeah, I think Pivac's finally sort of getting a bit more of a gist what his strongest 15 is. It's probably been tough having more sporadic periods of playing. Trying to sort of, he's, what was it? He was at Scarlets for quite a few years, so he knows probably the core of the players there, but he's got 3 of the regions to pick from and all the lads who are playing in England as well. But it's good to see sort of the young, well, I know Wyn Jones isn't that young anymore, but he's got 30 odd caps, I think. And Reece Sammet's been a revelation since he's come in. I think he's cemented that 14 jersey. He's got 2 hands on it. So. It's good to see players like them stepping up, especially sort of in those sort of pivotal moments that can tip a game in your favour. It's what you need, match winners on the field, like we were saying before.
You need finishers in your team, definitely. And Louis is one of them. He is definitely a finisher, isn't he? And so he deserves that 14 shirt going into the England game, I think.
Too right. He's brilliant. I think it's Gloucester. He's been pretty good for them over the past few years.
Yeah, last night against Bath.
Oh yeah, I think Falatau scored.
Yeah,
both made it through unscathed, thankfully.
Yeah, good. One good thing for us. I mean, it was a good game to watch. I was watching it again this morning. Again, you can see Zamet involved in the lead up to one of the Gloucester's try in the last 5 minutes. So it's great. It's great to see him going back to the clubs and still being able to perform at a good level.
Definitely. Okay, I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. I've really enjoyed talking to you today, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
No worries, thank you.
Sorry, I was going to say the final question we always ask. This is you as a fan now. So as a fan, what is your greatest Welsh sporting memory? Bit of a tough one, sorry.
Yeah, they've not been easy. No, for me, it's always been, not always, but the England game where we beat them, I think it was 30 points to...
30-3.
Yeah, 3, I think it was 30-3. Yeah, that was an outstanding game and a great game to watch. I can remember the first half, and then I had to remind myself the next day, having to have a few too many beers. Remind myself of the second half, but it was an outstanding performance.
Oh yeah. I think it was that the one where Alex Cuthbert scored 2? I think it was an evening game in Cardiff, and they had all the fire as they usually do. I remember it being absolute cauldrons, watched it on the telly, all nervous. And I think we came out quite well pretty early. Like you said, pretty cloudy recollection of a lot of these big wins, just trying to sustain the nerves for 80 minutes. But it is games like that stick with you in the big performances and tournaments.
Definitely.
And we've had a lot over the past few years as well, under Gatland especially. Maybe not so many in the last 12 months, but hopefully Pivot will build up. Considering, I think there was a few years where Wales did struggle to maybe get 2 wins on the board in the Six Nations. So to go from that, maybe in 15 years being the number 1 ranked team going into a World Cup, that's just a testament to the work of the players and Warren Gatland and all the coaching staff and all the development sides pushing the pipeline through it. Just nation of 3 million people to be able to do that. It's just
it's outstanding, isn't it? Definitely
fantastic, mate. Anyway, I have bent your ear for over half an hour, so I will go and let you enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's been great.
Thank you very much for joining me, mate. You take care. Have a lovely weekend.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.